Chevron Dello is announcing a break with convention, giving you even more reasons to choose Dello. Today we're here to talk about this guy, the humble hard hat, and how it is now taking a step into the 21st century, along with all of our other equipment. So let's get into the meat of why this is important and why this is a good change for the industry. Joining us today is Ryan Barnes from Studson. So just at a high level, can we start with you giving us an idea of who Studson is and what you guys do?
Yeah, Studson produces above-the-neck PPE. We got into the industry primarily to develop a better industrial safety helmet, but we make all the accessories and attachments to go along with it, which are primarily above the neck as of today.
So I had it for the intro, and I'm pretty excited about it. I actually have one of these in person, and looking at it, the design and construction of this is totally different than our traditional hard hat. Can you give us an idea of what some of the improvements to this guy are over the traditional hard hat we're all used to?
Yeah, so my background until starting Studson, I was in the action sports industry, ski and bike, and there's lots of more advanced technology than what you had seen 4 years ago in the industrial market. But the traditional hard hat has a harness system like these straps here. And most of the traditional hard hats over the last 50 plus years are just type 1, which means they protect you from crown or top impacts only.
Okay.
Nothing from the front, side, or rear. When we launched on this journey, we were dedicated to developing a type 2 and something that would protect you from all angles and impacts. We looked at how snow sports and cycling helmets were developed, and there's some more robust or innovative materials being used. We were pretty confident we were going to use this tubular material called Coroid. This is actually a piece of what we use in our helmet. You can make it in different densities and diameters to achieve whatever crumple, or shock absorption impact you're trying to mitigate against. So we integrate it in the top, front, sides, and back of the helmet in the key impact areas. And its tubular makeup creates more airflow. It's a little bit lighter than EPS, but it performs in impact about 48% more efficiently than your standard EPS foam. So getting better impact ratings is what we were after. But the ultimate goal was to make a better helmet, a safer helmet, and definitely one that was type 2 and with a chin strap. So those are the two main differences between your standard hard hat is most of them are going to be type 1. There are a few type 2 hard hats on the market, and there are some that you can purchase with a chin strap, or you can buy a chin strap separately.
So that kind of covers the construction portion. One of the things that really stuck out to me is the interior here, where you've got that traditional webbing system. This looks a lot more like a bike helmet, which in my opinion is far more comfortable to wear over the long course of a day than that webbing that's just sitting on the crown of your head and really putting that pressure point on it.
Yeah, that webbing design is potentially 100 years old. The hard hat was invented in 1919. The main things that have changed are the materials of the shell. They went from leather dip to aluminum to plastics, and then carbon fibers and fiber metal Kevlar materials. So not much has changed with the design of the interior with that 4-point strap system. And if you look at other industries, whether it's NFL, whether it's hockey, lacrosse, ski, bike, most helmets are designed with some type of shock absorbing material that's surrounding the majority of your head, even equestrian. And then depending on those, what sports those are and what inherent risks there might be lower coverage in the back or lower coverage on the sides, depending on, but you're trying to optimize design, fit, and function so that it's really comfortable and useful in the application you're using, but also has the coverage and protection that's going to keep you safe or potentially mitigate from potential traumatic brain injury or concussion in the types of falls struck by that you might come across in the construction industry.
So one of the things I'm most excited about is the fact that we no longer have this giant echo chamber in here. So when my buddy comes over and claps me on top of the hard hat, it doesn't bust my eardrums out, which is the common prank in the industry. The acoustics seem to be significantly better with this design.
That's true. I mean, EPS foam is an insulator, so it's definitely going to dampen. You also, because you don't have a lot of open space, you're not going to have that echo effect. It's going to have a dampening effect if someone slaps you on the top of the head, or the same as if you got hit by, a spud wrench or a hammer, or if you took a real, solid impact.
Yeah. So you've kind of briefly talked about the class 1 versus class 2 hard hats. Why worry about moving to a class 2? Why is class 1 not sufficient? But before we get into that, I want to take a second to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Chevron Lubricants. These past few years have been less than easy. We've encountered challenges we never imagined we'd ever have to deal with. From makeshift home offices and video meetings, to global supply chain uncertainty, price instability, market disruptions, and everything in between. Delivering the level of services and products our customers had come to expect was difficult for all of us. We can't change what's behind us, but we can definitely learn from it. We can adapt, evolve, and take steps to reset our thinking, adapt our strategies, and restore your trust in us to better meet your needs, now and in the future. That change begins today. Today we break with convention and introduce a rebalanced line of Dello heavy-duty engine oils. We've reduced our product line from 4 categories to 2. Consolidated and simplified, this lineup removes complexity from the manufacturing processes, enhancing price stability and supply chain reliability, so you can trust you will have the premium products you need to keep your business always moving forward. Our break with convention optimizes the Dello lineup to allow you to provide your customers with the best synthetic blend and synthetic heavy-duty engine oils in the market, fully available at prices you can rely on. It's your assurance that you'll be well positioned to be their trusted source for proven engine protection that keeps equipment on the job, giving your customers even more reasons to choose Dello. Why worry about moving to a class 2? Why is class 1 not sufficient?
Well, because we know, the current stats are that about 25% of construction-related deaths come from traumatic brain injuries, and the majority of those are from trips, slips, and falls. So we also know that in the majority of those cases, during a trip, slip, or fall, and typically they're 6 feet or less, that momentum makes the hard hat fall off. You could put a chin strap on it, and you should. We don't sell any helmets without a chin strap because that's what's going to keep it secure. They do have, in most safety helmet cases, they have a bit more robust fit system to adhere it, better to your head. And you might notice that in trying our helmet on. You can adjust it front and back. You can get the chin strap adjusted so that it's not choking you and it's sitting properly so that it's comfortable to wear. But with a Type 1, you're only getting that protection from potential falling objects. So if you do fall down and hit your head on the side, there is nothing there to absorb the energy. In a traditional harness system, your head's gonna, hit the side of a plastic shell. So having some type of material surrounding your head 360 in this day and age, knowing what the data points tell us, we believe is the way to go. Now, I did say that EPS is an insulator, so it does trap more heat than what you're going to have in your traditional hard hat. But by using the Coroid and the design, the way we designed the interior, and you mentioned similar to a bike helmet, I mean, we designed it almost identically to a bike helmet where you have these channels for airflow. So that you don't just have a big block of foam sitting on your head, you actually have just a few ridges sitting on your head. And so that hot air at least has a way to dissipate out the vents if you're using a Class C version.
I was just about to say, in case people didn't see it, there are vents along each side of the hard hat, so that heat is able to dissipate versus a traditional hard hat. You're sitting with a greenhouse on your head. It has nowhere to go. So one of the cooler things of this helmet, can you talk about this emblem right here? This one I thought was pretty awesome and really showcases how we're bringing something as simple as the hard hat into the 21st century.
Yeah, that Wi-Fi symbol, tells the hopefully first responder that there's medical information there. So there's an NFC chip, near field communication chip, stored between the shell and the liner. And if the user has built a profile, they have to download the app. There's a QR code on the hang tag. But if they download the app and set up their profile, they can actually scroll through and pick what Studson helmet they've purchased or been given by their safety manager. And they can select it. It'll essentially timestamp the date of when that helmet went into use. And then they can upload whatever emergency medical information they are comfortable with. It's typically allergies, whether you're diabetic, you might have a pacemaker, you might want people to know that you are a donor, and then emergency contact info. So if you're unconscious and somebody gets to you, a first responder can scan it with any Android or iOS device. And assuming they don't have the app, it'll just send them a generic text format with all that information. And they could call your wife immediately and say, hey, we're rushing them to the hospital, yada, yada, yada.
That's one of those things that you don't ever really think about until you're in that situation. And I found myself in that situation one time where I had a coworker that was incapacitated, and do I go digging through his pockets to call family? How do we figure out who we're supposed to call? So to have that sort of technology just right here in the hard hat, quick scan, away you go. That's awesome. My final question for you is, I'm in Michigan, cold climate. And traditionally what we do is we crank open the strap on our hard hat, we throw our hoodie up, and then we throw the hard hat right over top of it. With such a tight fitting hard hat, that doesn't seem to be the case with this one. What do you have to offer for colder climates?
Yeah, so good question. So one thing to note is that, most of these climbing style helmets are sleeker. They're lower profile, lower ride height, and they're designed that way, right? So because you're getting away from the harness and having to have a certain amount of air gap between the shell, they're lower profile, and they have sleeker fit systems. And so it makes it difficult to put something as thick and bunchy as a beanie and stuff it under there. But the most important part of that is the helmets aren't tested that way. The helmets are tested on a head form with nothing underneath it. We as manufacturers can't validate that it's going to perform the way that it's supposed to. And we've all seen it, right? The hard hat, whether it's a hard hat or a helmet, if it's on top of a beanie, it's probably not placed properly. It's sitting high, it's sitting back on the head. And in the case of, the right type of trajectory and fall, it might not provide the protection it's designed to do. So OSHA actually put out a guidance years ago that any type of beanie or anything you wear under the hard hat should be approved by the manufacturer. So because of that, we designed a fleece helmet liner, and we designed it to cover the ears, come down and cover the ears, because really in the cold weather environment, these helmets don't, they have chin straps, but they don't have ear covers built into them. Maybe that's something for the future and that you'll see down the road. But we designed a fleece helmet liner that fits most heads and that fits properly underneath the helmet. I thought it was natural to also mention that there's a lot of hot weather environments, whether it could be year round too, like in Texas and Florida in the South. So we did design some cooling accessories that not only cool to up to 30 degrees below your body temp when activated with water, but this one has a neck shade to hang over your neck. It'll keep you a little bit cooler, cool your body temp, but also provide some extra sun protection.
Perfect. Like I said, it's awesome to see that some of the simple things that we take advantage of and just take for granted on the day-to-day on the job site are finally kind of coming up to 21st century standards, and we're starting to see improvements in this area as well. So that being said, Ryan, where can people look to purchase a Studson hard hat?
People can purchase directly off our website, but they can also purchase from probably up to 100 different distributors across the country. We're set up with almost all the major distributors who can access our helmet, and we do have custom programs for logo, for pad printing logo and treatment as well.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you again for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. It's been fun.
Well, thank you again for Ryan coming on the show and taking the time to talk about the new Studson hard hats and how they benefit the industry and some of the nice features and advantages they have over our traditional hard hats. As always, I hope this helps you in your business. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Dirt.